necessary action.
I don't, we've been sending them to, for the mail. But they're just overwhelmed,
Right.
completely overwhelmed.
Good morning. 9:31 and the Board of Commissioners, Richland County, Carol Banks, Hero and Cliff Mears. Here's Stacy Crawl, our clerk, and Andrew Keller, our administrator.
Alan, Carl are both on.
And Al from the News Journal and Carl from Richland Source are on the phone with us, or zoomed in. So Mr. Tassif had an emergency, will not be here today. We have a meeting with the sheriff at 10. So in the meantime, let's do some other. Let's try to simplify record of proceedings. Regular meeting. December 2nd.
So moved.
And second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Good morning.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we approve the weekly transfers and appropriations?
So moved.
You're satisfied with the,
Oh, no, I think I was, excuse me. So moved to discuss. I apologize. I guess, all right. So there's a particular transfer. We talk about this every so often. There is a request from the treasurer's office. And let me see if anyone's coming over from his office. I got an email this morning. So, as you know, we always pay particular attention to requests for transfers into a salary line item for obvious reasons, and it's not, when you increase salaries, there's other increases across the board in terms of Medicare and OPERS. Obviously, salaries are and should be our largest expense. So I had sent an email yesterday seeking the reason for the request for a salary, which in essence would be an increase in the appropriation we gave the treasurer's office. Stacy did some digging. I did hear from the deputy treasurer this morning. The treasurer's been out. It appears that in payroll 17, now in Andy's emails or the deputy treasurer's emails, he said there were incentives given to employees, plural. I didn't see any except to one position. Haven't seen a response. I invited him to come over. It appears that a $3,500, what the deputy treasurer's called an incentive, was given. I think we need to assess this from the position, and we certainly are not opposed to incentives to employees. Let's be very clear about that. I think what we are opposed to are unbudgeted, call it, well, they are unbudgeted, under the radar bonuses given to employees when we set line items to be just that. If there was a justifiable reason to a bonus, obviously that simply necessitates a conversation. Late in other areas, we had the same thing happen in the sheriff's department. Now that was more of a response to COVID. They were at the front lines, the federal legislation, but the sheriff's office approached us. He said, hey, I'm light in some other areas. Federal legislation calls for incentives to what we would deem safety service personnel. We would like to do this. Can we do this? We said, sure, that makes sense. We set aside a large amount of money because of safety service. It would have been disingenuous to do so. But here we have an unbudgeted $3,500 bonus. And instead of keeping us informed, the treasurer said, well, I'll just lay people off then. So it's like he's threatening us for what he gave, which were a substantial unbudgeted bonus. I have for everyone his 2021 personal service schedule. Does he account for a bonus? So I've spoken enough, and I'll turn it over to you guys and how you would like to handle.
Well, if you're going to give away bonuses, get it in your budget at the beginning of the year. If for some reason you can't do, as Tony eloquently said, you come talk to us. And yeah, Bart does have the money in the insurance fund, but that's not where we budgeted. So I say, let's move all the other transfers, and then let's hear from the treasurer's office to make up her mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it would be important. I mean, Andy, we had these emails last night. Bart's gone. I thought for certain he would have sent someone over. I was a little stunned to see his email, which was like a threat. You give an unbudgeted bonus, and then you say, well, if you don't give me this, I'm going to lay people off. Okay. But I think you're right. Until someone from the treasurer's office wants to come on the record, I don't see any reason to approve at this time. I don't
I
know.
think we need to hear from
I feel we would be taken advantage of because there's no communication on this with transfer into the salary line. It's assuming that we're going to say that's okay when it's something we didn't know about.
And look, to be fair, we had another elected official do this once before, and there was money left. Let's be fair to that elected official. We accounted for that on his next budget, though. We said, okay, you want to give budgets, and even though he wasn't over budget, there was this. Now this is way more than $3,500, but there were substantial bonuses given that were not accounted for in his prior budget, and we said, then you're going to pay the price in the next budget. So, I mean, I think it would be unfair to that other elected official who had the money in his line item, mind you, if we didn't take a similar approach.
It can be consistent.
We can hear from.
Okay.
In the email, just for the record, the bonus wasn't budgeted for because it was a bonus given because of transition of Matt leaving and Andy coming. So that's why I didn't ask for it at the beginning of the year. Communication should have
But
happened.
I think Daryl said that just right. If something comes up, then you come over and I think, right.
PRS and Medicare are fine because
I think
that's not going to
we
be.
need to be very clear. We're not
Yeah, I just wanted to say,
hard and they do good jobs. This isn't about the person. This is about the position and the function of budgeting. And you're obviously going to need an increase in salary line item. So that certainly would require a conversation with the budgeting authority, which in this case is us. And again, we're not like, we've approved bonuses.
Stacy, if I'm following you, when Matt left and Andy went over there, somebody else picked up some of that. Which,
but say,
So-
just a conversation.
Yeah, it's just a conversation.
so let's just stick with what we decided and get the conversation, and maybe we can have better communications in the future.
Yeah. So I think until someone, I'll shoot Bart an email and say, hey, we did not approve the transfer this time. And until such time you come before the board to discuss the bonus.
I gave Andy 2 dates next week because Bart's due back next week. So I left 2 dates for them to discuss when they can come over.
Okay.
All right.
So
Motion to approve the transfers and appropriations minus the treasurer's request.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Okay. Can we approve the requisition?
So moved.
Second.
Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Ask us to approve authorize the issuance of an overdimensional overweight subload superload permit to DRP Incorporated.
So moved.
Commissioner Banks?
Yeah.
Commissioner Barrow? Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
And we approve which we do every year, the fair housing agreement with Mansfield. This function in behalf of the county as well as the city.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
Can we authorize reimbursement to the VOC for COVID expenses?
That's us.
Yes. Board of
We
Commissioners.
are, this is a glorious day, right, Stacy?
I guess.
So moved.
Meaning that we spent all the rescue money, right?
Not quite yet.
Not yet, but close.
It's, we have it all accounted for. It hasn't all been spent.
Not a cent went back, baby.
All right.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
And then we have the National Opioid Settlement Agreement. We want to approve the resolution.
We want Mr. Keller to speak to it a little bit.
Speak to us, Mr. Keller.
Sure. This is the next installment in our opioid litigation settlement negotiations. As you recall, in August, the board resolved to participate in the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding that was led by the Ohio Attorney General. That was with the big three pharmaceutical distributors. The board took action in August on respect to the big three pharmaceutical companies. Today, we have a settlement offer from Janssen and Johnson & Johnson for also through the One Ohio settlement structure, which will ultimately consist of a regional council of government that will be in charge of distributing those proceeds to the impacted political subdivisions, Richland County being one of them. I want to provide a couple things to the board here. The highlighted line represents the amount of money that potentially would be available if we have 70% participation. The other number, the $346,000 number, represents the amount that Richland County could potentially receive if we have 100% participation of the political subdivisions in the settlement agreement. We're doing our part by resolving today to participate in that. Also, the participation agreement, that's this document here, that's going to be authorizing you to sign on the commission's behalf today by passing that resolution. And that participation form simply is what the federal court and the parties need in order to process our participation. It functions as a release from further claims.
And do I follow this correctly that Richland County, Region 19, if we have 70%, 242 and change, 100%, we get to 346 and
Yes.
And then the numbers to the right of that, is that what they show over 4 million and 6 million?
That's for the entire region. So that represents, which includes much more than Richland County. Our share of that would be the 242 and the 346. And again, I tend to be pessimistic. So those represent potential numbers. It's a long process, and there will also be some question as to how that money can be used, as you know. But those are the best numbers that we have at this time.
What sort of timetable are we looking at?
Well, assuming that we have 95% or more participation, then we will proceed with this One Ohio settlement with Janssen and Johnson & Johnson. And then, Cliff, we could be looking at several years before the money is fully available and used. So I'd say 5 years. 5 years.
Sounds like the threshold is 70% participation.
Yes, they provide numbers of 70% and 100%. Although I believe the threshold is 95%. So on this particular one, so I don't, why they provide 70%, I don't know, because your release is conditioned on 95% participation. So I'd say 95% is the threshold.
How many?
I think they were using data that they had used from the big three, but in this particular settlement, it's a 95% threshold.
You know how many, because everybody had to agree to participate, sign a written agreement. Did we have 100% with that?
I believe we did. I know that we crested 95% on the settlement with the big three. I mean, 100% is normally not attainable in most,
Yeah.
in most things that are structured like this. However, in this case, it was in every political subdivision's interest to participate. So we achieved a very high, between 95 and 100%.
We're talking 18 townships, like 3 cities and 8 villages or something close to that. So,
And then multiply that times the entire state. Because when they talk about the percentage of participation, they're looking at the entire state of Ohio. So,
okay. Further discussion? I'd entertain a motion to document to authorize Andrew to sign the paperwork.
Second.
Actually, did you move and I'll second?
Yeah.
this one's different from the last time also in that they're using DocuSign. So it's an electronic signature through DocuSign.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Hey, as everyone knows, we have a emergency operations center and 911, which are new and good investment for the county. We'd like to show it off. Have we got a date set for that?
So I'm working with, and the source Carl just let me know he had to bounce. I was hoping he could hear this. Was curious as to what your thoughts, reached out to WMFD. We believe the EOC, the new EOC and the new 911 center will be 100% done by the end of this year, maybe a little sooner. So, I mean, worst case, to give us a little wiggle room in the holidays. Wondering what your thoughts are for some sort of unveiling walkthrough for the public to let them know what their tax dollars are going towards without borrowing. You know, that's something we're pleased about. I think the myth is people don't want to pay taxes. They'll pay taxes if they know it's being spent on something worthwhile. And we certainly believe a state-of-the-art 911 center and a up-to-date modern emergency operations center the public would like to have. So they should see what they're getting their money's worth. So I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely for them. I believe that 911, we're not talking about public going through 911.
No, this would be like the new, WMFD even talked about maybe a live broadcast. No, not, I mean, we have to provide emergency services functions. We can't have people coming in all day in our 911 center. So let me rephrase that. This would be an unveiling via, maybe they could even broadcast. They talked about maybe broadcasting it live on WMFD,
Media event.
going Facebook live, having the chamber come out, having the source to get it and reach as many people as possible. News Journal, of course. Maybe Al Lawrence will take the trek out here, or we'll get Lou out
Have a
there.
ribbon cutting.
Yeah, we thought about, I don't know if we do, maybe we do one joint ribbon cutting and then walk them through.
Yeah.
Have the chamber kick off the ribbon cutting and then walk them through.
And I would probably want to do it mid-January.
We were thinking mid to end of January.
Yeah, get through the holidays.
Yep.
Get people settled down. Well, get a date set up.
Okay.
Go from there.
I do have another Daryl. Something we need to think about, guys. This is very difficult. It's important, but yet difficult. As you know, we're a part of 40+ boards, whether we sit on them, appoint to them. We have some appointments to think about. I would like to go over that. Oh, we have, 3 transit board appointments that are up this year. And we also have, 2 New Hope, appointments that are up this year. So, we need to start thinking about that. Now we'll have some communications with New Hope. Who's the New Hope liaison? Let me look here.
You, Daryl.
Yes.
Jim.
Look, I'm opening up. Daryl, you are New Hope. So I'll work with transit on, or even if you guys think of any board appointments. Now, remember, that is somewhat political. You have to have Rs and Ds. And I know transit is thinking about that as well. But we have 2 appointments at New Hope that are going to need filled. Maybe that'll just be re-upping, which will make things easier, but something we need to get done by the end of this year.
Okay. I'll talk with Michelle.
Transit's very difficult to fill, as we know.
Why is that?
It's just challenging because I don't know. I just don't know. I just know it's challenging positions, but board positions to fill.
I think there's been some management changes.
Yeah, it's gotten, the board did a heck of a job, and now regional planning as a person dedicated it. So it's a much easier board position now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gene's doing a great job.
I think that's improved the situation.
Yeah. So we've had some just 2-term board members who want to come off, and we need to fill those. Because I know that Val Ashcraft and Maura Sigenthaler have said they're not interested in serving another term. If anyone else is up here, give me a second. Here we go. So we have Ed Pickens is up too.
I'll check with Ed and see if he wants.
You can serve 3 terms, so he could serve 1 more.
It's on transport, right?
So we have Maura, Val, and Ed who are up. So please, let's keep that in mind.
I'll talk to Ed. He just texted me since we've been sitting here.
Okay. That includes you, Mr. Keller. If you know anyone locally that want to serve on the transit board
The New Hope Board.
or the New Hope. That's all I got, guys.
What about,
What's that, Stacey?
you had something else on my agenda grew legs. I don't know where it went, but you had something else on the agenda.
I don't think so.
Child abuse prevention.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Got an email from Teresa Alt saying that requested we appoint Kaylee Pugh to the Child Abuse Prevention Council. She works for Teresa, is doing a good job. That's another one of these boards. You know, it's in Columbus. We've had challenging times filling it, but Kaylee's willing to step up to the plate and do it. So this time I'll make a motion to appoint Kaylee Pugh to the council.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Any questions, Al?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you. It is 9:55 and we will recess until 10 o'clock.
We'll behave.
It is 10:01 and we are back in session and we've been joined by Sheriff Sheldon, Captain Blunk and Captain Sweat. And we want to talk about, let's start with you, Captain Sweat. You've got some budgetary things you want to talk to us about?
Yes, the sheriff and I presented the letter, if approved, to Stacy for transfer of funds from our salary line item with the employees that have left and us not filling those positions as of now at this point in time to backfill the positions we've been authorized. We had excess funds in our salary line item. What we would like to do, or what we're requesting the Board of Commissioners to approve today, is to allow us to encumber 90,000 of that into next year, for next year, to purchase cruisers and canines moving forward. That will allow the commissioners to remove that from our 2022 budget request and reduce our budget request for 2022 in that $90,000 for at least one cruiser, if not two, and possibly 1 to 2 canines. That's our plan.
And this, unlike the previous transfers, money out of the salary line item, not money into the salary line item.
Correct.
Great to me.
I'm good with it.
Sounds reasonable.
And we'll take another look at your budget, figure out where it's gonna be spent. You'll end up with 1 or 2 vehicles out of it, although
We're working on ARPA and or capital projects funding for vehicles. That's why we hired the brains back there to tell us what we can and can't do. So we're working on accommodating the vehicle request.
Definitely in good hands with Andrew, for sure.
Let's not hype him up too much here. He started pulling old Andrew stuff yesterday, which I don't know if you can do that. So, we had to keep.
It's not been my experience, but
Oh, yeah.
there's 2 people we have to warn you about. A lot of money. 2 of them are right here.
Blunt may have taken the lead. I mean, he comes in here with like the Eeyore face and I don't know what to do. And I need $500 billion for a referral bonus and
Right now,
So-
he's going to come back with us and save us some money on next year's budget.
Well, yes.
brought my numb left arm here.
You are. Yeah, I know. We're gonna take out the fingerprint machine, and we're gonna look for a lower cost fingerprint machine. And I'm still negotiating with ACH on getting you, I guess, 3 different yearly annual costs for ACH, and to kind of work around the third shift nurse, or maybe continue on with the third shift nurse. So I'm still waiting. I was supposed to have them here today, but they have not got them to me yet. So when I get them, I will bring them forward to you and discuss them.
So what are you talking about for the fingerprint machine?
Yeah, there was, I guess the city is going to get an upgrade on theirs, and I can get by, I think, with what we have now. And we're still looking for something, a fingerprint machine that would be lower cost, but I don't need it. Absolutely need it next year, especially with the city's upgrade that they're getting.
Okay.
We can get by for next year and continue to look at something of a lower cost to the county.
And if I can correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that a $220,000,
$225.
$225,000.
that we still might need
We already eliminated that.
It's 165, I thought, for the fingerprint machine.
Oh, no, it
Yeah,
was
it was
two.
Yes, two-
It was 225, 220 or 225.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Is it such a machine that you put in a set of fingerprints that ties to a database and
It does. Yep. They're all sent to BCI, and the city has their own APHIS too, and they pull from it as well.
and I think the expensive part of it was a little bit, maybe you should give them a little bit of history back to why it was what it was. So historically, when we were still inking rolling fingerprints, that they had to be uploaded into the system through a scanner and a machine that would upload the fingerprints to the machine.
Yeah, and the city did all of that for us. So now it's all electronic, everything is set electronically. That takes out that whole process. The cost would be the cost that we got from the city, from Tony at the city, and as far as upgrading and getting all new equipment for us at the jail. So, but yeah, that where they have to manually scan these cards in and all that no longer happens. So
If you remember, did you remember Larry over at the city, Larry that worked in the crime lab? That was his full-time job. Well, now it's all electronic. So there's no labor cost in it. Initially, what we had done, I don't know, this probably goes back, I don't know, at least 10 years ago, I suppose, or 15, I don't know, but
probably 15.
15 years ago. But
Yeah.
we were paying for all the equipment and the city was paying for all the labor. Well, now there is no labor. So that's part of the cost savings.
Is the equation, isn't it?
It
does.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty accurate.
On the fingerprint machine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, and it won't let you get a bad print. It'll reject it.
So you're gonna have to wear gloves.
Because with all, when you did it by ink, I mean, you'd have officers that sometimes, I mean, you couldn't tell the print. So now with the machine the way it is now, I mean, everything is heat censored and it won't even take a bad print. So you have to keep redoing it until you get a good print.
to answer your question, that same system is what we tie in when people come to do their background checks or CCW application. Then there's an algorithm based on the loops and whirls. And if it lands within a certain percentage of your fingerprints, then they do a hand check. Well, they'll literally go and pull the card that it hit on and your card, and a human will look at it to make sure that it's not the same person, or if it is the same person, and then they do it. So some folks, when they're like, well, why did it take my wife and I came on the same day, mine were done immediately. My wife had to wait an extra 2 weeks. Well, that's the reason. The algorithm hit and somebody's fingerprints that are in the system were within a certain percentage of the person that got ran. So they have to do a hand check. And that's what takes a little bit longer sometimes when they do that.
And part of the bigger plan is we're planning on having a live scan machine at the Records Bureau down at Peoples also. And it'll help with things like juvenile court. When Judge McKinley needs a juvenile printed, a juvenile can't see an adult in prison. So when they send them down to the jail to be printed, it creates a problem.
Yeah,
So now we're going to
shut our entire booking down to bring the juvenile into fingerprint picture.
So
That's
it's going to help us with the whole process with because we do CCWs, we do all kinds of stuff at the Records Bureau. So we're going to have that machine down there also, and then Judge McKinley's people can take his people to People's Hospital, not to the jail. So it'll be a more fluid system for us all together, and got it. So it's not going to be near as expensive. So
And that machine's already paid for.
and
We're just waiting on it to come in. We paid for it out of CCW funds, out of our non-general funds, because we use it. Well, it'll be also being used to do background checks for the CCW people. So it's bought and paid for. Just a matter of the chip shortage, waiting on it to get in to be installed, but it's already bought and paid for. So once we get everybody trained, that'll take a good burden off of the jail staff for letting the juveniles and the community court and common police court folks that need to be printed down Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, so they don't have to go through the hassles at the jail.
all the juveniles that need to be fingerprinted according to law are printed at the sheriff's office at the county jail. So, I mean, city's arrest, Shelby's arrest, all the arrests come to us to fingerprint picture.
but this will help. And then part of like happens, I was talking about the CCW funds. The CCW funds by state law are limited to how they can be spent. Well, this is one of the areas that they can be spent in. So it's just, for us, it's kind of been a win-win situation. And it helps manpower wise, and it helps equipment wise, and it just helps with the other agencies too. So it's a good thing.
Thank you for the very thorough explanation. That helps me a lot. That's good. Good stuff. Thank you.
We do need a motion to approve that transfer if you're approving it, please.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any- Al, you got any questions for the sheriff's department before they leave us?
Yes, I want to clarify some things that you were saying. You can, if I understood you correctly, you were saying that you can do without that fingerprint machine because you can have it done at the city police department. Is that what you were saying?
No.
No, we do all the prints.
In the past, if I understand it correctly, the city and the county worked together. We bought the machine, they furnished the labor to do it.
Yes,
The new machines, no labor is necessary.
correct.
So, and we will be having the same kind of machine out at the sheriff's office in the,
Record section.
Records, yes. And we'll continue with our old machine at this time until I can find a more cost-effective replacement.
With the way technology,
Yeah.
Al,
I'm sorry, things froze up, and can you start over on that last comment?
Yeah, we'll continue with the old machine until we can find something that's cost-effective for us in moving forward with the new one.
And I think in addition to that, in the meantime, we're going to be able to reduce some of the burden to the jail staff by having a new fingerprint machine that's already been bought and paid for. We're just waiting on delivery that will be able to print the juvenile arrests and then also arrests from municipal court and common police court that were not fingerprinted at time of arrest.
Correct.
Okay, so you're taking some of that work out of the jail, and that'll help not having the new machine right away.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay, I think that clears up what questions I had on that.
okay, thank you, Al. We'll go back and structure budget based on what we found, decided on this. And then go from there. You can keep looking for that less expensive machine. I didn't say cheap, but less expensive.
Yeah.
and I think with us, and I want to say this in a very congenial way, it does help us. You know, we realize the Board of Commissioners has a budget. They're the budgetary agent for the county. And when you cut the budget, it helps us. Like if we're going to get our budget cut, it helps us if we can kind of pick and choose where that's cut. And so, or to come up with some different avenues. And we appreciate the board being very receptive to, to us, saying this or that, because you guys have always been very receptive. And that
We want your input because you guys know more about it than the rest of us.
Mhm.
And
it helps.
we appreciate it when we get reasonable budgets. We do a lot of kidding here. Some of it is kidding, I should say. But
We earned that.
Yeah.
So,
sure did.
Yeah. For that.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in and
Thank you.
thank you.
Sheriff, you want to remember right, you really wanted 2 dogs
Yes,
and you don't know what's going to happen from the west side of the county.
not yet, sir. No.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
When I talked to, I'm sorry, Tommy, when I talked to Tommy Hill, I talked to Tommy and the mayor. It was Jim. It was a done deal. And then Tommy sent me a text, I think last Friday, saying that he's got to back off. He might not be able to do that. He's not sure. He still might be able to do it, but he's not sure.
Well,
So,
council.
and I think when they went to council, I think that was some of the issue. I don't know. But I think some of the officers out there had issue with what he was taking back. So I don't know that. But
All righty. Well, we're going to continue with our meeting. We're going to continue and discuss the budget. And we want to go back and figure out exactly where we are with the sheriff before we go to a new.
We
I
already
don't think,
fingerprint machine out
yeah, we already took it out. It's not gonna save us.
there. He took it out.
Hey. We're going to go to court IT first.
That's where we stopped at.
Pardon me?
That's where we stopped at was the courts.
Okay.
All right, hold on a second. Let me do this.
Yeah, switch the filter tips, Daryl.
Y'all, they didn't have a problem with that. Which is good. No matter what.
Just give me a couple minutes. Be right back.
I'm gonna take a recess for Cliff for a second.
Yeah, let's take a 10-minute recess. It's 10:17. We'll be back here 10:27.
Take 28.2 times 1.03. It's 2907.
Okay, we are back. It's 10:28. We are back in session and we are going to start with court IT. And let's take a look at their salaries at first. In 2021, we had their salaries was $108,207.68. If you divide that by 27, because we had 27.
All right, so you're talking court IT, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you divide that by 27 and then multiply it by 26, it comes out to $104,199.99.
Yep. Got it.
Okay. So if you take 3% times that, what do you get?
So I'm showing 108. 108. 207.68 times 1.03. Yeah, 111,45391. Oh, wait. No, I got to go off the 104. I'm sorry. But we have to,
Came up with 107,325.
yeah, 107,325. That's right. I'm looking at my spreadsheet here. Yeah, 107,325.99 is what I would show at 3%. 4% would be 112,535.99.
So I say hold them to 3%. Save a little bit of money.
They have a change during the year.
I thought they did. Didn't they have someone leave and someone come on?
I was gonna say, I guess the latest.
Remember you had Sean Vladev,
Left.
he left. And then
Let me see where their payroll's running.
Mathis came on. See, the difference was where he came on a little higher. But I think they're still gonna be
Payroll,
under,
actually, their payroll's lower, so they're running
right, because they had a,
$97.60 per pay.
right, because they had that gap in turnover. With Mathis started, let me pull that up.
6. If you take what they're doing right now, $4,097.60 times 26 pays, it's 106,547.60.
And that doesn't appear to be spelled properly. Second. Started on. Yeah, they spelled it wrong. He started, I show. He must have came from somewhere else because he's got a service date of 9/7/2011.
From juvenile court.
So he worked at juvie court.
So if you take what they're making right now and add the 3%, it's 109,733.73. They're asking for
Okay.
and they've been at that same rate of pay since like pay number 8.
Okay.
So
And the rest of it. About the only thing that's changed very much is again, what we pay for contract services, and that's probably software.
It is. I'm looking at adult. Adult probation's head count is going up because of the Ohio, what they would call community control, if you recall.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a little askew because it's gone from 11 to 13. I don't see much there either. A lot of that's grant funded. The revenue went up accordingly, correct, Stacy? To account for the grants coming in on that?
From their personnel service schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Collins PSI writer there twice.
Sometimes they separate out. Hold on, let me pull it up.
I imagine that's what.
It should be on the far right. They show you the
Yeah,
funding
PSI
source.
in the county
Right.
and
They don't have revenue coming in, Tony.
Okay,
I think it's in another fund.
but then they transfer it in, right?
Nope, they're not showing it. I think they're paid from another fund, but I can't answer that. I'd have to look at that service schedule where they list everybody in what fund. But no, they only have $500 in revenue.
So that money, I guess that's something I can talk to them about after this is over.
Fluctuate so much with the grants. and
Right,
grants.
but if we're adding headcount, that should be accounted for somewhere, correct? Because they're getting the money from the state for that, so,
Just no employees move in and out. Sure it.
about 2/3 of their salary is paid for by grants.
Their latest payroll is running 14,373.25. That times 26 is 373,704. But theirs is so complicated, you would have to talk to them, Tony.
Okay.
Grant pays for what, but they are not showing revenue coming in.
right, so that might be a place we can move. I'll
It
talk.
could be from the grant that maybe got stopped, so they moved the people into the general fund. Used or something.
It's not a ton, but it's a place.
I might have a more accurate.
I can ask JJ to come down or while we're going on that.
Have them to look at it again. Judy, look at it again.
All right, we will come down. Okay. So common pleas, general, if you look at them at 26 pays, it'd be 575,692.08. 3% would be 592,692.84. They're a little higher than that.
Yeah, they got the same amount of people.
Yeah. I tracked that as well. Yeah, the same amount.
They increased 4 hours.
I think they did. They were only 36 and they went up to 40, I believe.
I think next year they're going up to, yeah.
Yeah.
So that accounts for some of it.
I don't think we can move there. Everything else is pretty spot on, you guys.
Your fees went up 10,
We had to increase that.
increase what we budget.
You have to pay.
They're already over the 50,000. They haven't finished paying yet, so. Court and us are the only ones left.
The probate court, right? So there's not an increase in head count, at least from 2021 to 2022. Jocelyn did a really good job. Looking at their personal, she just put in for 3% as well. And that's reason. We've been line what we've been given. They worked through COVID. Not seeing anything there. ACU.
Her budget fluctuates quite a bit, so I can't tell on salaries what's.
It's pretty much spot on though. I mean, there was obviously turnover with the new judge, but even if you do it at the 26 pays at 3%, it's 367. They're asking for 393, but they're different judges. Salaries, I mean, they lost. And they're taking their 2021 bases, going 3%.
No, she's asking for a bailiff,
Oh, that's right. You're right. I'm sorry.
the new full-time.
There's the increase right there.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry. How do you not give a judge a bailiff?
She doesn't have it.
No. She's only asking, she's asking for a full-time. I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
They have court.
Fluctuates a decent amount of time.
She has an employee that acts as a bailiff. That's cross-trained.
And look, Judge Madnell is awesome, so it would never get to that. But I would have a hard time saying if we're not going to give you a bailiff and let's look at it out into the future, right? I think a judge saying I would like a bailiff and us saying no, and then that ever playing down the road if it ever went to court, which it certainly wouldn't, but
I believe when she was here, that bailiff was also gonna cross-train,
right,
go out and do certain.
Correct.
papers and stuff like that too. I mean, so there was other things that that employee was gonna do.
That's reasonable.
how do you, Mr. Keller, you're a lawyer, how do you not give a judge a bailiff?
So presently, how do they handle that?
Another employee doesn't?
Your employee does it, that has other duties.
Just bailiff duties in addition to other duties. Well, that's how you do it.
You hired him.
Now, look, the question is, and I'm not saying that is, well, if you take those responsibilities away from that employee, does that
However, it's been done for
go down, right? But
how you do it.
I don't know how you don't give her a bailiff.
I don't know if she'd be receptive to a part-time bailiff. I just pulled out the computer fund. This software charges that they keep adding on. I mean, I know you have to do it, but my gosh.
All right. I asked JJ to come down. I haven't seen it yet. And then come down to 130, but I don't see, I mean, that's not a $576,000 budget.
We're recessed right now.
That's not a substantial, but I mean, it's. And if you keep moving on, you look at the clerk's request, their overall request in 2022 is less than what they asked, what we gave them in 2020. That's going backwards in 2 years.
No, that's going forward.
Yes. From a budgeter's perspective, I'm saying, what's up, Gregory? We talked about you earlier on your fancy show you're going to put on for us at the end of January.
Yeah.
You can, if you want to call me, I have some ideas. I don't want to.
Ooh. As long as we don't get Shelley, you're the looker in that. Certainly not Tony Mitchell.
We'll do that for you.
Pass that message along.
I will pass that message.
I see nothing in clerks. You, Mr. Keller, what do you say? I mean, it doesn't say just because they're going backwards doesn't mean we made it, but I'm just saying with high inflation, their request is less than we gave them in 2020.
I think you're further going to earn your reputation with Al Lawrence. He goes complaining about budget cuts again.
Cliff, you?
I just say they're not going back far enough.
Yeah.
It's worth noting last year was a 27 pay year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I looked at 2020. They're less than what we gave them in 2020.
That's good.
Daryl?
They're running a tight ship.
On probate court, is the indigent guardianship, is that part of the general fund or is that outside the general fund? Certainly nothing. I mean, I only bring it.
That's we get reimbursement for publicly court appointed attorneys. Remember, there was a change in the law that maybe Mr. Keller can expound on that you're entitled to representation out of probate court now for certain cases involving was it? I'm trying to remember. Let me find that.
Guardian volunteer program and attorney fees increase.
We get that reimbursed. So
Reimburse.
parental rights and adoption proceedings in probate courts mean that indigent parents are entitled to appointed counsel in all cases. It came out. So that's your
So
increase.
that's why it went up so much. Okay.
But we get reimbursed for that.
Cut it if we get reimbursed, can we? If we wanted to. And then on the probate court, Fun. She gets some different software.
Yes, and she's gonna be upgrading her software, which I think is a long time coming and I'm okay with.
I remember right, there was several steps could be put into that.
We did coroner, there's sheriff jail, sheriff. Go to tax map. The big increase there is a potential retirement. Wait, and then there's money for the retirement in case that happens on the salaries. On a second.
God, he's replacing his part-time person that left
Right,
with a full-time, right?
hold on, I'm getting there.
He's replacing. He's trying to, he's trying to hire a full-time person.
All right, so another 8 hours up to 32 for the part-time. However, the 32 would only be seasonal as opposed to 24 all year round.
Right.
So there's your increase there. He's not asking for an increase in headcount though.
He does want to add another full-time person,
Hold on,
right?
but I thought that,
So he would have 3 full-time and 1 seasonal.
hold on, let me pull that up. Looking at my notes, then the budget submission.
I thought that's what he was doing.
Here we go. I'm getting there.
I could be wrong.
Okay. So he could have a potential retirement that we know of. And then that person would come in and he would hire,
His budget request is for 3 full-time a year
right.
and the 1 seasonal.
But wouldn't that drafts person replace? Wouldn't it go, if I recall, the drafts person, wouldn't the assistant bump up the supervisor if the supervisor retires?
Assistant is not going to be the supervisor if the supervisor retires. The new drafts person would be training to be the supervisor, to the best of my knowledge. The assistant
Okay, that's right. Yep.
is
right.
not moving up
To be a replacement for the supervisor.
if the supervisor.
If the supervisor retires, but we have to put it in, right?
But on paper, he's adding a full-time person.
Yes, to replace an outgoing though.
Yes, but we don't know the person's going.
Right. Well, he won't hire
No, he's planning on hiring.
for sure.
Job is posted. If he gets somebody, yes. The job is posted. He's been trying for years. At some,
Yeah, you're right. He didn't hire it last year.
it's been 5 or more
He always,
that he's been trying. I'd say it's been at least 5 since he's been trying to hire.
but he wouldn't fill then, if I recall. Hold on. If I recall, he's not going to then fill it if she retires, right?
No, he is. He
I'll
wants
let him go.
full-time people in the seasonal.
She's gonna stick around a little bit.
We're gonna have to put him in the Jimmy Sweat category. They're calling you Jimmy Sweat. Because you're hiring, adding bodies, adding to our budget. Now, wait a minute. You're seeking to hire a full-time drafts person, right? How is that a replacement? Right, so it's not a replacement. No, I'm talking about your general fund. So if Elaine retires, then will you hire another drafts person then? Or hire, and you will hire, I guess, will you hire another body to replace Elaine? Right, so in other words, you're gonna want to increase the head count by 1, right? With the part-time also getting an increase in seasonal hours. So So you're saying if you can add a full-time person, you might not need the part-time then, in other words. Okay. But that's only $4,300. But you have 44 in, have you interviewed for that? Do you expect first of the year to have that hired? So you've identified a candidate? So you probably, that person won't start right away, we don't think. February, March. Okay, so we can adjust that a little bit. All right, thank you. No, we're gonna I mean, you've been trying to hire that position, but we might trim. Look, we got about 275 grand to cut and we've gone through all the big ones, so this happens. All right, so we could maybe cut that a little bit. Thank you. All right, bye. So then I guess we could reduce that, Stacy. Hold on. I think we can reduce that by $5,112. His salaries.
$5,000.
5112. So that would take it 154,888.
What was that again? 1.
54888. You got to keep the termination payout in there.
54888.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the ditches, that's union, those are negotiated, so that is what it is.
Potential retirement.
Mm-hmm. So,
Well, the only, on my transfer out tab, so we had, the debt expire.
yep, hold on.
And I moved $157,000, 746 to transfer to reinvestment next year. It's not being transferred out for debt. You can zero that out and not budget a transfer.
We
out
could do that because we're going to be transferring a large amount of investment
investment.
over from this year. So let's do that. So so you're taking 157 out of the,
I'll move it here. Hold on, let me. 277. 904.20.
what's the, let me look, I'm looking for transfer out here. Where do you note that? Grants transfers? Under what? Question.
I'm looking, scrolling for it.
Yeah,
Right.
I know, I'm looking too.
That's veterans. Transfer out 0175 000 562200.
2200.
It's after veterans.
There, wait.
Look at that.
Oh, that's
We went from 6 million to 277.
I don't show, wait, transfer out. I don't show anything in there.
Yeah, keep going. It's the wrong transfer out. That's veteran services. Come down.
Oh, there it is, out of the 435650. So hold on. I'm keeping a running tab as well. That's 43. Hate this kid.
The only thing in the transfer outline item is the victim witness and the telephone generator debt.
Comes to 285, right? 651 basically.
7790429.
277 904 29.
Sir.
That's not good.
You're down to $112,283.01.
Well, and maybe we could go talk to Pat. I think he'd come up another $100,000 and then we'd have to find 12 grand to cut and we probably just go to one of the bigger ones or split it.
Go to the,
You want me to have Pat come over?
go to the court systems and say, find us where we can save 12,100, whatever it was. 13,000.
Do we want to have Patrice come over?
You could talk to him during break and
I guess we could, yeah, because we're coming back in session at 1:30.
So this is a good place to go. It is. It is 10:59. The Richland County Commissioners are going to set in recess 1:30.